Hello and welcome to my channel. Normally I review movies, but today I want to talk about Season 3 of The Bear. Just as a quick recap, The Bear is about a team of chefs from Chicago that work in a restaurant called The Bear. In Season 1, the crew came together and created The Bear. In Season 2, we saw them struggle to get it open, and Season 3 follows Carmy, Sydney, Richie, and the crew as they try to find their footing in the new restaurant. The show was created by Christopher Storer and stars Jeremy Allen White, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, Ayo Edebiri, Lionel Boyce, Abby Elliott, Maddie Matheson, Liza Collins-Zayas, Oliver Platt, Edwin Lee Gibson, Corey Hendricks, and Ricky Stafiri. The season starts right after the events of last season and takes us on 3 major character arcs with Carmy, Sydney, and Natalie. Then there's also 4 side arcs featuring Richie, Tina, Marcus, and Uncle Jimmy. Finally, there's an underlying plot about whether or not the restaurant is going to be able to turn a profit and survive. For positives this season, you have the acting, the visual journey, and the soundtrack. All 3 were exceptionally well done and deserve praise. The cast, for starters, does a wonderful job playing out a ton of different emotions and taking their characters through some really tough moments. We get a lot of tension in the restaurant and a lot of back and forth yell fighting. The cast manages to coordinate these hectic sequences that perfectly encapsulate the stress of a dysfunctional kitchen, and they also do a great job with their individual journeys. There were a lot of great emotional moments, as well as a few hilarious jokes. For standouts, everyone in the cast got to have at least one big outburst. Jeremy Allen White and Ayo Edebiri got the most time and stand out the most. But Liza Collins-Zayas, Lionel Boyce, Oliver Platt, Jamie Lee Curtis, Abby Elliott, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, and Jon Bernthal all got amazing scenes. Jeremy Allen White's Carmy goes through a decline in this season. The stress of running the restaurant and messing up its opening night is getting to him. His rift with Claire only grows larger, and he finds himself being drawn down the same path as his asshole mentor. The people around him try to help, but Carmy is like a moth to the flame. Ayo Edebiri's Sydney is the glue trying to hold the bear together. She bites her tongue, does her best to prop up those around her, and she gets little in the way of thanks in return. As the season drags on, we see her armor start to crack and break, and Edebiri plays out a tense and somewhat horrifying panic attack. They both show off great chemistry with other characters and get to do some amazing conversations. One of my favorite moments from this season was when Carmy confronts his mentor in a washroom. The conversation between them was so intense, and there were some huge emotions flying around in that room. The visual journey saw a lot of interesting shots of the city, a lot of great shots of the different chefs cooking, amazing meals being prepared, and some fantastic conversation work. They really captured the stress of the situations in the visual storytelling. The camera work is clean, the lighting is always on point, and they have a ton of great locations. For standout moments, you get big confrontations and conversations where they find a cool spot and have 2 actors play out a long sequence there. It usually involves a lot of yelling and emotional sharing, but they make good use of the space and really draw out the feelings. Sound-wise, the show uses a few instrumentals and a lot of original music alongside a very particular ambient design. When things are silent, they tend to focus on the sounds of the kitchen and the people in the surrounding area and how overwhelming it can be for the characters. The original songs appear frequently to support the emotional journey and add a bit of alt-rock flavor. They're very entertaining tracks that come in at the perfect volume and stay for a little while. The instrumentals appear infrequently and are mostly used for adding stress into a situation. They bring a bit of tension but aren't overly memorable. There are moments where they overuse a certain sad song. In fact, there are quite a few moments in one episode in particular, but aside from this one song, the rest of the tracks are well used. Okay, now to address the elephant in the room. This season doesn't feel well written as a whole, and it kind of seems like they've run out of content. There are definitely good moments in this season, with some episodes being better than others. That said, there are a lot of moments where they beat a joke to death and then keep beating that horse for another 5 more minutes, until the corpse is mashed into a fine paste and mixed so well that you can't see any of the individual parts. They also spend a lot of time retreading ground from Season 1. A lot of the character dynamics in Season 3 feel like they're reverting to an earlier version. Like all of the growth they had in Season 1 and 2 meant nothing. There's also a number of flashback episodes that feel like filler. They do a good job of fleshing out different characters, but there's only like 3 episodes that actually focus on the main plot, and every second taken away from it feels like a huge loss. I really enjoyed moments like Tina talking to Mikey for the first time, or seeing more of Chef Terry and Chef Luca. But the rest of the episodes didn't add anything. They weren't pushing the story forward. At best, they offered a comparison for the bear, and they didn't need that much screen time for that. Really, it just felt like they were lost this season and didn't know where to go. I hope they find some footing because I find the production value on this show is top notch. There's few other shows that compare to this level of storytelling. As for a rating for this season, I'd give it a total of 6 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on this season. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.